Today we are zooming in on this oil painting to help answer one of the questions from our question box this week. And the question is how to make a painting go from 2D to 3D, from flat to realistic. I'm glad you asked, whoever that was, because there are some really key, easy ways you can make your painting go from looking ordinary to looking amazing. But here's the fun part at the end. I'm going to pull out another question from this box for next week. But for now, let's get going and answer the question from this week. So answering this question of how do we make something look not so flat, not so 2D, but more 3D. Look, this would probably be the most fundamental question or the most asked question, but not so many words. Like, how do I make it look better? How do I make it work? And I find that people will start off, and it's just part of learning. You know, you start off with not even introducing blacks, as you can see here. So I'm doing an example of what I could see a lot of my students do when I first began, and I probably did this when I first began too, is you just get all the colours in. I see yellow and I see green. I see yellow and I see green, and a little bit of red. So that's what we do, is we just put down all the yellows and all the reds. And yes, I do see black in the middle. And we spend a bit of time getting everything, looking, all the shapes looking right, and ages, just spending ages just refining all the shapes and getting all the greens in. And by the way, greens are really hard to get right. I didn't even really get them right in this. So just refining and looking at, yes, okay, I can see some highlights. But I can see some dark lines, and I'll use a green to put the dark lines in because, this is a lizard, and you think about it being a lizard, and a lizard's all green, and so you're putting all the green lines in, and then you start going, oh, okay. At this point, I start to encourage my students, say, do you realize there's a black in there? Do you realize there's actually a lot more darks? So then we just start looking at and building up all of those dark areas and getting the black in. And it's one of those things with everyone, and I know it was with me too. You just don't want to put black in, you don't want to put the darks in. And this is the thing, the darks and the lights is what makes it look 3D. The darks and the lights are what make it look amazingly realistic. So here, as I'm working through this, I'm looking at where all the darks are first up this top area, just trying to get the darks in, and I'll be putting some highlights in a minute too, just to see how it's all working. But I'm looking down here, I'm going, yep, all these lines, they're not green. They are pretty much very black or very dark green. So where are the other dark areas is what I'm looking at to try and get that looking less 2D, less like a cartoon and more like a real picture. So I'm looking at where all those darks are, lots and lots of darks here and there. Just putting that fine brush in and going around the eyeball there, just going, where can I see all the darks? And then I'm like, I'm going to have a play with the eye now. So this eye has so many other colours other than orange. And this is another thing that happens when artists are looking, or students are looking at eyes, particularly like, oh, it's a blue eye, so I'll paint it blue, but not realising that there are actually greens or other colours in here. Like when you look at this, there's really not a lot of yellow. There's quite a lot of browns and greens, and there's even like really deep orangey red. Just a tiny bit of yellow, but you know that yellow is, that eye is actually a yellow coloured eye. And it's really tricky to teach this in a way that you can catch it straight away. You've got to really learn this process. So here I'm putting the highlights in. So like I said before, you've got to get those darks and the highlights in. And sometimes I'll put the highlights in before I finish getting everything really dark, just to sort of give me that contrast and that feel, so it all makes sense to me. Here I'm just trying to adjust and go, okay, it's a lot lighter over there, it's a lot darker over there. I'm just looking at all the different contrasts and all the different tones. I start putting in all of the details here, quite a lot of detail. I nearly wasn't going to do all the detail to show this example, but as I got going, I enjoyed it. It took me about an hour and 40 minutes to do this in real time. So this is now cut down to about 6.5 minutes in a time lapse. So one of the other things I was going to say was when you are painting something realistic, often what will happen is you'll say, okay, this is an eye and this is a lizard and it's a green lizard. And so basically all of the shadows you'll think, oh, they must be dark green, or everything must be green. But if you look closely, I'm using a lot of browns, there's some reds, there's other colours that I'm actually introducing into some of the areas, even some blues, to just try and bring in the extra colours and the extra dynamics to this. So it's always good to just try and detach yourself from it being a lizard or being whatever it is, a portrait or a landscape, and think about it as just the colours and the shapes. And the more you do that and the more you learn to look at a photo and not think about it as being a lizard eye or not think about it as being anything but colour and shapes and tones, it makes a huge, huge difference. So towards the end of a painting, I'm always looking at the three things. Colours, I do try and adjust the colours a bit. I'm not so worried about that to begin with. But then it's getting the darks and getting the lights, and I'm trying to get that highlight in at the end there, but getting those darks and getting those lights. And then I'm just tweaking and squinting my eyes and looking around and going, am I happy? Yeah, I think I am. I'm trying to introduce a few more dark little areas so that I can be really happy with the final result. So I hope that's been really helpful for you to understand a bit more how to make something look more realistic. It's mostly the darks and the lights. If you go into galleries and you see pieces that don't look realistic, I can guarantee you that they haven't gone dark and they haven't gone light in them, in areas, in highlights. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I had a lot of fun doing it. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching me talk about that painting. If you want to paint this little painting here, I have a free, wonderful gift for you today. You can get a gridded up version of this in my photo vault. It's all free down below. And if you want to join up a membership, you'll be able to get all sorts of fun stuff as well. There's some links below. Come and join me for some fun. But this is free. You can go and look at the link below. Go to paintingwithheather.com/photo vault and have some fun with that. We are now, like I said at the beginning, going to pull another question out of this box. Take the lid off and rustle around and find a question. And the question is, how much medium should I use and when should you not use it? Well, we're going to answer that question next week. And if you don't know what medium is, it's what you use to blend and make the paints nice and smooth. But we can answer more about that question next week. How much medium should I use and when should you not use it? Or I suppose, when should you use it? So next week, come back and I will answer that question for you. I hope you've enjoyed today and I hope you have a good week and keep doing more of the things that bring you joy, bring a smile to your dial and make you happy.